Oh, that worked out alright. Thanks, Bacon herO and Juvia, who are still going at the bit boss, I suppose. Exchanging blows. We are going into Abel Shear for the first map. In the top left, as the red Terran, it is Psystorm Gaming's GuMiho. In the bottom right is the blue Protoss. It is Root herO. Huh. Hey, Stajo. I know. Crazy people. Fear Dragon is here, but he also had a flight back, and he has to work like a normal human being, so he shouldn't even be awake as is. How many heroes are there? 3, but 2 of them on StarCraft 2. And then however many there are in Ladder that no one knows. If you're gonna choose an easy name to remember and be called and be pronounceable in both languages, hero's a pretty good one to have. But I'm thinking herO from CJantis came first. Although herO the Zerg might have, I actually don't know his history, but I feel like CJantis herO has been around for a very long time. I thought the Team Liquid herO wasn't. I mean, 7 years. I don't know. Someone look that up for me. Who debuted first? Who's the real hero? Well, I watch this game. So Reaper opener for GuMiho. Alive was very hesitant to go for any Reaper openers. Not just because he went for a Command Center first twice, of course, which doesn't usually give you a Reaper, but also in his 1-1-1 build. Just for having that Marine. Oh, very sexy noise. So this is also like that little bit of a timing too. You see, like herO did get out just in time for the Reaper not to be able to scout and chase it down. The Reaper is a little bit later than the Marine would be. So he gets back home safe and sound. Didn't bother trying to hide it for anything. That's specifically what the Reaper was looking for, because herO is known very much so for doing the ultimate cheeses. But I think it's pretty good that he's actually not gone in now 4 PVTs for it, because I think sometimes it is too predictable and he does just lose. More bits coming in. More people want to be the bit boss. That's good to see, though. Considering that we aren't getting ads today, the bits are especially appreciated. If you got any more money to spare, of course, sub tiers are out, and that's really cool and all. But also, if you're looking for the replays of the Olimoleague, or you want to support Korean StarCraft, definitely go to the Patreon, as the Olimoleague is funded entirely by the viewers, the fans, you guys. So Olimoleague, I think it's patreon.com/Olimoleague actually for the Olimoleague. And there's a couple of different tiers that are pretty cool. Reaper is taken care of by the Adepts. We have a Cyclone follow-up, which is interesting. Wood Mines are usually pretty effective unless you are being pushed by the Pylon Rush, and then Cyclones are very good to have. But otherwise, if you don't feel there's going to be an aggression, you usually go for the Wood Mines to just look for random kills. But the Cyclone's are already out, doing some bit of damage. It's such a small little unit, doesn't look very powerful. But it's got health and it's got DPS. And it can definitely tear down probes and pylons and even a mothership core technically, but its lock-on is the worst thing about it. Adept needs some help. Funnily enough, that probe was pretty perfect at soaking up that damage. 3 Adepts now, but 2 Cyclones now too. And herO, he still hasn't gone for a forward pylon. I mean, he has units, I think, preparing for a Widowmine drop, which a drop is on the way, but it's Marines. But still, no pylon at the front base means this is actually really very difficult. It's gonna swap, let his Mothership Core take care of any drop that comes out, let his army deal with the Cyclones. Probably a smart way to do it, but it's just seconds before that pylon finishes, and herO's had such a tough time against this. He barely, oh my god, how? Okay, well that probably should have died in another world, in another dimension. But lives barely enough to hold on. If that hadn't got the Photon Overcharge, that would have been a lot more probe kills, like a lot more. I thought GuMiho was going to really start snowballing, but herO barely holds on, still has a Militia Core to show for it. Resident Glaives and +1 is on the way. Stalker's only warped in to help against that drop. A lot of gateways on the way. GuMiho does not have any scouting on the third base. Scan goes to kill an observer, but that's it. So he doesn't know how late the third base is. I guess you could guess. You saw the probe move out, but this feels like another one of the classic, or herO's classic. Classic in the tournament, so I should stop using that. herO does do a lot of builds that get production first and, you know, Nexus later. And well, that gives you a Nexus, and like you could go into 3 times pro production, and you have some place to transfer your workers too if the game goes on for very long. It really is more about the push of a lot of gateways. So the Warp Prism's out, Resident Glaives is just about finished, +1 a little bit farther behind, but probably gonna finish too. And GuMiho, he has a lot of units, he has a very good setup. He's getting a wall, in fact. But he doesn't have stam, combat shields, or +1. And if he moves out, I don't know. He does get a scout on the timing of the third base and sees that it's only, like, it's still finishing, right? So I would feel that tells you not to do this, but Liberator comes on the main base, and that, I thought that would have seen the gateways, but funnily enough, I guess it was denied so quickly, it didn't. Oof. So he knows the third base is a bit later, but maybe he's thinking that's a consequence of the push that he did. His army is really, like, it's gonna go push out, but it's, he's not leaving anything at home to deal with the Warp Prism. He might regret that. It's actually gonna be very interesting. Liberator comes in here. That motion core is so low, maybe the Liberator could take it out. But instead it's gonna be taken out by the Stalkers. Warp Prism warp into the main base is apparently a complete surprise to GuMiho, who just tries to desperately pull the SCVs. Warp Prism would hop over the barrier anyways, even if it was lifted. Combat Shields is not going to be focus fire. That might have been a really good thing to do, but it's turning into a base trade. GuMiho's already lost 11 SCVs, but his army looks very good. He doesn't have any upgrades quite yet, still missing that +1. Immortal's caught in the front lines, however, Force Field's got to go down to help out, and tanks need to be positioned, so that's going to give herO more of a, I think, a faster chance to do damage, right? Like he's already done it, 30 SCVs compared to still 0, as at third base didn't have any probes on it. A single Cyclone's taking care of it too, and if like if a couple of Adepts get over there, maybe he would still have the Nexus. But it's all about the hold of the natural. And while GuMiho's army looks scary when it moved across the map, now that herO's had time to chrono out those Immortals and get a lot more Adepts in, I think his army's a lot better. Yeah, even some Adepts being pulled back here after killing almost 40 workers. Upgrades are even, but herO has +1 almost done for his armor. No, he's not going to wait for it. You're going to go in, Guardian Shield. Warp Prism soaks up the Widow Mine. I don't think that was its intention, but it works out. And the tanks are just absolutely slaughtered by the Immortals. GuMiho's going to try and pull back, try and play this game out, but it's not looking so great. Intention to take a third baser. Way out there. Units kind of just flung around the map. He tries to get his bearing back. herO didn't really lose economy though. I mean, he lost his third rather to that Cyclone, but he still has 46 probes to GuMiho's 17. Starting around on minerals, so I guess it is going to be a bit of a gap with the amount of workers he has. But he does have enough minerals to get a third base, for GuMiho is still struggling. It's going to go for a Doom Drop into the main base, but even though it's 5 medevacs, only 3 of them are full, or not even. There's a lot of army for this. That's got to be it. GG. herO does take the game. Okay, whatever. Let's get in the intros. In the bottom right, as the Blue Protoss up 1 in this series, best of 3, it is the Blue Protoss herO. In the top left, as the Red Terran, it is GuMiho. Thanks for more bits. Probe's actually the one scouting. I mean, herO's the one that's really dangerous to a lot of people's minds for his cheese, but GuMiho is not Not someone who skips on his all-ins and cheeses either. A lot of proxy gateway or barracks and factories and starports and all that, so worthwhile scouting. Seems to be normal openers, however. So apparently Team Liquid herO, former Team Liquid herO, did play Brood War, but interesting. Wow, someone really loves herO. Team Revolution's herO has such a long bio and very detailed, whereas Root herO's is kind of more bare bones. Alright. Well, from what I've learned here, I'm just going to assume that it was actually Team Liquid herO first, so that's what I'm going to go with. Stargate's on the way. Might just be into the quick third base after. herO has played this out already against Alive. GuMiho does have his Reaper scouting for probes and proxy pylons and holding off on scouting herO directly. If he one based, you would find the pylon. If he was on 2 bases, which he is, then you still have some time before you really need to scout. Obviously, the more time you wait, the more units they'll have, and the less chance maybe your Reaper will have to get in to scout, but there's another pathway on Abyssal Reef, so it's very possible. Reaper still gets a very decent scout on the Stargate, of course. That's what it's going to be looking for specifically. Adepts actually preemptively look for the Reaper, so he has to skedaddle. Third base is on the way. Got 400 minerals. I think herO would have loved to kill the Reaper before he had to place that down, just to give a little bit more mystery to what he's really doing. But with such a fast Nexus, even if the Reaper didn't get into the back to scout the Stargate, he gets a couple of probes. He didn't scout the Stargate, but of course an Oracle pops out. That would have been the assumption anyways, I believe. Not many other tech paths get to that third base that quickly. Yeah, that's what I'll put it. Phoenixes are following this up. Last time we saw herO do this, he went immediately into Blink with only 1 Phoenix. But this is still being chronoed, and we'll see if he adds on a second one. Yep, he does. Okay, so probably Phoenix Adept. It's something that GuMiho, as I was talking about, like herO does change it up a little bit. Can't just assume from seeing that Oracle opener, but if he sees more than, again, like 2 or 3 Phoenixes, then that's where the assumptions can really start to lie. And of course, if you see enough Adepts warped in, I suppose that also works. Then you do Corvin 1 for the 2-month resub. Drop comes in the main base. Oracle is ready to go, but wants to be microed, now no longer able, as that Cyclone lock-on would have been enough, even if it doesn't do very much damage, as you can see here. Worth, yep, taking out that medevac for sure. And I don't think you can kill the Cyclone. Like, the Cyclone has a lot of health. Other one's gonna come in here and force him to stop anyways. But herO holds against that. And when I lost the Oracle, the Phoenixes also provide some decent scouting, assuming you don't run them over like a billion Marines. And while it's no revelation, it is still a scouting path. Third base on the way. There's finally the Forge of the Twilight Council as well. Probably skipped a little bit more than he wanted for that. Viking does go down. Vikings kind of suck sometimes against Phoenixes. The DPS of the Phoenix is just really, really good. The Viking, not so much. And I don't know if that was really worth it. The Viking might not be too helpful against the Phoenixes offensively and is barely helpful defensively. If there's a Warp Prism later on in the game, maybe that Viking would have been better off trying to defend against that. But that's now going to be up to the job of the random Widow Mines that Terrans are just throwing around. This is not really supposed to do like game-ending damage, but seeing an opportunity, herO does... Oh, there we go. Take out the Cyclone, take out a lot of Marines. Does lose a handful of units himself, 2 Phoenixes, a couple of Adepts. But looks like he thinks it's worth piling on that aggression. The Phoenixes really should be looking for this third base, though, and killing the SCV if things are going really perfectly. And I'm sure herO will get around to it sooner or later. Not quite yet. Robo on the way, more gateways. Third base is just about saturated. Almost 60 probes to just the 41 workers of GuMiho. Phoenixes are looking for whatever they can. Widow Mine, there it is. Wants to get that amazing hit out of nowhere, but is missing all opportunities to do so. Really wants that command center, but GuMiho's not protecting it, so not gonna happen. And since herO didn't follow up with a cheeky all-in, or, you know, didn't actually probe his third next or something like that, here, GuMiho is safe in doing this. Stim is about done, +1 as well. Medevac's finally out, a couple water mines as well. Nice little task force here, and it's gonna go a very wonky path. The Phoenixes didn't really want to deal with the Marines anymore, so he knows those aren't being, those aren't scouting for this, and there's no revelation either. So trying to do this, probably smart move. But the probe, I like this probe scout. Not just a pylon scout, but also the probe scout sees it really, really early on. And even if it didn't, those Phoenixes were patrolling specifically for this. So I think he pulled them back just to see if he could bait a little bit more. Oh, now they're in position. 8 probes went down. Oh, wow, this would have went on a journey. And surprisingly didn't go into the gas guys, so it was probably focus fired. Nicely done by GuMiho. 8 probes, still not too devastating. herO just needs like 1 or 2 more probe rounds to really make up for that. So that's going to be fixed very, very quickly. But GuMiho now has his third up and running and is finally getting to a decent SCV count as well. Second upgrade already on the way, whereas herO is holding off. There we go. I was going to say, you don't usually. It's either +2 or +1 armor. A lot of adepts. If GuMiho ever makes the mistake of letting himself commit here, he's going to get overrun and pushed back and be crying about it on the forums later on. So he's doing a very careful job of just posturing, not committing, and letting his Widow Mines do whatever they can. So 8 probes here, maybe a couple shots on the Phoenixes over there, and he pulls back at a pretty perfect timing. That was super weird. They like couldn't see each other. Obviously, there's no observer, but Widow Mines took this time. Does take out that Adepts. Very nice prediction skills from herO. Warp Prism in the main base. Does distract a lot of the units from the front, and that wall is not lifted. There's no Liber at the front either, but the Phoenix would have taken care of it anyways. That's what they're there for, and while more probes went down to a couple more Widow Mines, a lot of SVs are going to go down. That +1 armor might not even finish. I don't know if it's worth target firing, but it still has a long way to go. Third base is not protected despite having a bunker, no Marines, and it's just absolute slaughter. And GuMiho just very quickly finds himself down to 21 workers. If the supply depots were raised, if the Warp Prism had the Viking on its butt, you know, that type of thing means that his army is all together in one place and it looks a lot better. But without it, it's just so disjointed. It's every which way. Widowman's finally going to get a couple of shots off. That's good. But the point is, it's already a little bit too late. GG. herO 2-0. Wow, herO 2-0's GuMiho. That's so hard to say. Not the result that I expected. Alive actually did better in this tournament against herO than GuMiho did. But that's going to send herO off into the semifinals to face the winner of Billowy and Keen. Other matchups going on right now, Sue versus Stats. Sue beat Super, Stats beat Leenock, and Innovation versus Bunny is still going on as well. So whichever semifinal comes up first is the one that we're going to join. Aside from that, I'm just going to go to commercial break without the commercials, so just a break.